Good morning. My name is Jamie McLean, and I'm the Customer Success Manager for the Florida Department of Corrections here at NeoGov PowerDMS. Our last overview, we focused on both the assessment piece as well as the document management piece. Today, our overview is going to focus solely on the standards area. So before we step into that, I want to show you an older document that we have from the Department of Corrections. So if you look at this particular document, you might have something similar. You might have an Excel document with many different pieces of information that make up what a department or a facility within the state needs to comply with to be in compliance or whatever it might be. So essentially, we take the material that you provide. So let's say this is similar to what you have, just an Excel document with multiple tabs. And then we can translate that. Let me go back to our PowerDMS screen. We can translate that into what we call a standard manual. Now, I don't have a copy of the old one that you had there, so we're going to use a different example here, but it's kind of a similar story. So think of the material that you have there, the Excel document, as like a notebook or a book, if you will. We will build out all the informational pieces where they're applicable. And then when it gets down to what the facility, department, whatever it might be, what they need to do, there'll be a section where they can come in and actually attach different areas or notes that they have or haven't met this. Now, depending on how you're intending to use this, maybe you're going to let the facility themselves do these assessments. So they'll take this notebook or they'll take this manual, this book, and create a notebook, or they'll attach all the proofs to show that they're meeting the needs. But essentially, again, stepping back, we take that book, all the material, and build out the assessment. So there might be different sections like we saw on that Excel document a moment ago. And the idea here is within each section, we create an area where someone could potentially add a note or an attachment file there. So think of your material as one giant book, and then this process as creating each chapter within that book. And the idea is we take that book and we create an assessment where they would attach their proofs. And I did that earlier for us. Let me go into that to give you an example. So taking that manual of expectations, we create an assessment, and this is where we would go in and we would either document we have or have not done what's being asked, or add proofs to show that we're in compliance. Again, it depends on the nature of what you're trying to capture here. This is a different accrediting body, but it's kind of a similar story here. So if you work with the team, you'll share the materials, they'll provide you a quote, and if you decide to move forward, in addition to us building this manual for you, you'll also want to think about the different roles that you have within the manual. The way the system is designed today is these roles are not hierarchy based. So I can be a manager, and it doesn't mean that I can see all the other roles. The reason that this particular accrediting body has so many different roles is because I, as a team member, may help add attachments or make notes about where the facility or department agency is within the process of where they're supposed to be. And then maybe a manager would come behind me to make sure, okay, Jamie has added what's appropriate and what would be acceptable if a final review is done. So the idea is you can give a less tenured team member access. They can help do the busy work, if you will, of documenting or adding the proofs. And then you can go back in and check their work to make sure it meets the needs of that final review. And then the other reviews are allowing you to either have another person that works in that division look at it ahead of time to say, okay, you're missing these areas, you might want to tighten this up a bit, or that final assessor, maybe whatever member of the team that's working on this will go into the facility and they'll want to look at that final review of everything and see how it looks and see if there's any deficiencies or gaps. Along the way, each of these roles can do different things, and they can also be locked. So we get that question a lot about custom roles. Well, Jamie, maybe the facility is only going to have the team and manager, but the warden might be that mock person, or we might call the warden instead of mock. And the idea is the warden would go back through, look at everything maybe his facility has done or her facility has done, and see if it, is appropriate in the right place or not, essentially. And again, depending on how you do it, it could be a totally different, way to go about it. But I think the idea is clear. So in addition to providing the material, you'll want to think about the roles, how they will work with each other. You see here, there's also a compliance status. So some agencies have a time frame in which they do this. So maybe there's a 4-year time frame that a facility has to be in compliance. So maybe you're making it a purpose as a Department of Corrections to look at them every year to make sure, okay, before we get to that final year, where are they at? So the idea is they can set statuses that you can see or they can see to kind of track that, if you will, as they go along this process. So going back to our book and creating our notebook, as we drill down, let's say the oath of office is the first thing that we're asked to prove. Again, I know this is a different manual data, but I'm sure you'll get the idea here. There's a narrative that's given. And again, depending on what your expectations are, they can come in here and upload either a PDF document, an Excel document, a Word document. They can upload a PowerDMS document. The benefit to that would be, let's say it's a sanitation narrative where you're telling them, hey, you need to meet the certain sanitation requirement for the inmates. Maybe there's been a change to that policy that says, okay, instead of doing this, now we're adding this in as an additional measure for health and safety. Excuse me, the idea would be if it's a PowerDMS document and that update is made in the policy itself, well, now I have a little button that I can click to update that, opposed to having to go in and upload the newer copy or version of that. So it's definitely a benefit there. And as you build the assessment, you'll work with the team on these different check boxes. The idea is when someone comes in here to do that final review, whether it's a warden or someone else, whoever it might be, they can quickly see where it's applicable to. So you'll notice that I can click the different areas. You can also make notes. So maybe in this area, there's not inmates that meet this requirement, or maybe they've been asked to like put a higher protective barrier over the fencing, and there's already like a mechanical work order in place to have that done. Maybe it's going to be completed in 2 weeks. So they can add a narrative and even link you to a website if need be, or an intranet if it's HTTPS secure, to go in and confirm that. Or they could just say, hey, we're not doing this because of this. So it's a quick and easy way to document something for whoever is looking at this. And again, we talked a little bit about it, but you can also direct folks to a website using a rich text editor. You can add videos. There's really no limit here, which is nice. For our example this morning, I uploaded a quick non-relevant NeoGov release document here. So this is a 16-page document. So if I click on it, you can see here that it's associated itself with the written directive that it's asking me to show that I'm in compliance for. You can also add highlights. So let's say, like in this case, it's a 18-page document and there's only certain areas in the document that are relevant to what's happening. They can easily click, and I'll show you this in a moment, where they can go to this section in the document so they're not fiddling through it trying to figure it out. Within the attachment itself, so we allow, if you give a blessing for it, you can export your assessment and all your attachments, which is nice. Or let's say you've got a team member that added something that no one can find. You can come in here and download these anytime, which is nice. Let's say this particular 16-page document met different sections within our book of expectations, we'll say. There's also a way that I can click this button and come in here and associate them automatically to the other sections, so I don't have to go in and manually do each one. I can do it quick and easy. Let's say that the wording that we use for the attachment wasn't quite appropriate. I can come in here and edit that quickly and make that change or associate differently, which is a blessing. There's also a highlight tool here. So if we click on this, you'll notice that it opens the box and we can click in any of the highlights. And let's say we want to make another highlight in this. let's say this particular area also needs it. We can do this, and then we can simply type whatever the narrative is. And then save, or let's say someone came in here and they didn't associate the sections correctly. You can maneuver these, which is nice. And I get the question all the time, Jamie, what if it's multiple areas within this that I need to do multiple pages? Nice and easy. I can just hold my mouse down and you'll see as I kind of go through this, I can easily pull it down to multiple pages, which makes it nice and easy for whoever's doing it. I want to make sure my associations are correct. And again, we'll talk more about this if you decide to go with this process. And then once I save, the idea is the person that's reviewing it will come in and they can quickly go to this section and see all the highlights that are made, which makes it nice and easy. You can also set custom statuses or tasks. So let's say you're kind of managing an entire facility, maybe as a warden or whoever you might be, and someone needs to come in different sections within this book that we have, the manual, and do different things. You can set a reminder that goes to that role, and then they'll get a notification telling them, hey, it's time to upload a copy of the cleaning schedule, or, you know, a picture of the freshly washed sheets, or whatever it might be. And then if you choose to use it, we showed a little bit about the statuses. You have all these different statuses, and you'll work with our team if you decide to use this tool to decide what statuses are applicable. But again, kind of going back to the beginning here, the idea here is if this is meant to, you know, look at a particular facility or department within the Florida Department of Corrections, and it's over a certain period, maybe 4 years, you can go in and have them do it year by year and track where they're going. And they can also track it themselves to see, oh goodness, I haven't worked on 20% of this. I'm definitely far behind. And you'll notice here this number, depending on what your material has, this is the number of items that in a facility, a department, organization would need to show compliance for if they were doing this particular program. So again, it's going to vary a little bit with yours, but I think you get the idea. We do also have a reporting area. In addition to being able to export the documents, there's a lot of information to glean here. Again, it depends on the material you provide, the way you set it up, and what kind of reports that you need. But essentially, we can give you a status if you're using the statuses we looked at. You can kind of see what users are assigned where, what versions are available. As you update the versions, we give you the compare feature, which is nice. But essentially, it's that simple. Once you give us the materials, we'll build out this manual. Then you'll create the assessment. And that's where these folks would attach their proofs or materials. So again, think of this as a way to say, okay, we have this process in the Florida Department of Corrections. There's many things that need to be met. Instead of just saying, yes, I met them, I need to actually see documentation or notes that tell me what's happening. So instead of me emailing you or dropping something off, you coming on site and writing with a clipboard, you're doing it all here. And historically, I can look back. Like maybe I have a facility in Orlando and I can look back and say, well, gosh, year for 26 and 27, Orlando didn't do so well, but look, for 28 and 29, they're on the uptrend here and they're meeting all their standards. So it is a little bit of work to get it set up, but definitely worth it. And if you guys have any other questions, definitely let me know. I'm here to help in any way possible. I appreciate your time and service for our community. Have a great afternoon.